Today, we're going to step into one of the most private and emotionally charged rooms in a man's life. It's a place filled with a silent, heavy pressure that can suffocate joy and poison even the most loving relationships. I'm talking about the moment when you want to be close with your partner, when the desire is there, but your body doesn't respond the way it used to. The erection you've counted on your entire life is suddenly unreliable, or perhaps it's gone entirely. In that moment, a man's mind can become his own worst enemy. A cold wave of panic washes over you. Every thought is a question laced with fear. Is this it? Is my masculinity fading away? Is my partner disappointed in me? Am I failing her? Am I failing as a man? This experience, known clinically as erectile dysfunction ED, is incredibly common, affecting a huge percentage of men as they age. And for decades, the solution has been presented as a purely mechanical one. A little blue pill, a pump, an injection. We've been taught to see this as a plumbing problem that needs a technical fix. But what if I told you that for many men, especially those in long-term loving relationships, the plumbing is only a tiny part of the story? What if I told you that the relentless focus on fixing the erection is the very thing preventing you from finding true intimacy? Today, we are not going to talk about a new drug or a surgical procedure. We are going to talk about a change in perspective so profound it can revolutionize your connection with your partner and restore a sense of confidence and joy you thought was lost forever. We're going to talk about the invisible prison of performance, and I'm going to give you the key to unlock it. Before we start, please leave a comment with your age and country. Knowing this helps me create more valuable and relevant content for you in the future. Part 1: The Performance Prison and the Story of Robert. To understand what I mean by the performance prison, I want to introduce you to a patient of mine. We'll call him Robert, and his story is one I've heard countless times in my practice. All names are pseudonyms, and images are representational to protect privacy. Robert was 68 when he first came to see me. He was a retired engineer, a man who had spent his life solving problems. He was practical, logical, and deeply in love with his wife of over 40 years, Susan. He sat in my office, shoulders slumped, avoiding eye contact, and described his problem with the precision of an engineer diagnosing a faulty machine. He began, "Doc, the equipment is failing. It's been getting worse for a few years. I've tried the pills. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. It's unpredictable. Susan is understanding. She says it's okay, but I can see it in her eyes. It's not okay. I feel like I'm letting her down every single time. We don't even try anymore because I can't stand the thought of that failure." What Robert was describing is the very essence of the performance prison. For him, the entire beautiful, complex world of his intimacy with Susan had been reduced to a single, brutal pass-fail exam. And the only question on that exam was, did you get and keep a firm erection? If the answer was yes, he passed. He was a man. He was a husband. He was adequate. If the answer was no, he failed. And in his mind, that one failure negated everything else. The love, the history, the emotional connection. This prison does something insidious. It changes your focus. You're no longer present with your partner. You're in your own head, monitoring your body, anxiously checking, is it working? Is it still there? Am I going to lose it? This state of anxiety is the physiological opposite of arousal. Anxiety triggers your body's fight or flight response, flooding your system with adrenaline. It diverts blood away from non-essential functions, like an erection, and sends it to your major muscles to prepare for danger. Arousal, on the other hand, requires the rest and digest response. It requires relaxation, safety, and a sense of calm. So here is the cruel paradox. The more you worry about your erection, the more you are physiologically guaranteeing its failure. Robert was trapped in this cycle. His fear of failure was causing the failure. His solution? He asked me for a stronger pill, a bigger dose. He was still trying to fix the plumbing, convinced that if he could just force the mechanics to work, the feelings of failure would go away. He was looking for the wrong key to the wrong lock. Part 2: The Prescription That Changed Everything. I looked at Robert, this kind, intelligent man, who was suffering so deeply, and I knew another prescription pad wasn't the answer. So I proposed a different kind of treatment, a radical one. I said, "Robert, I want you and Susan to try an experiment for the next month. I'm writing you a new prescription, but it's not for a pill. It's a set of rules." I took out my notepad and wrote down 2 words. No intercourse. He stared at me, completely baffled. No intercourse? Doc, that's the problem. I'm here to have more intercourse, not less. I smiled. I understand. But right now, the goal of intercourse has become a tyrant. It's the source of all your anxiety. We need to fire that tyrant. For the next month, intercourse is completely off the table. You are forbidden from even trying. Your only job is to rediscover every other way of being intimate with your wife. This was the first step in a blueprint I call the Intimacy First framework. It's not about giving up on sex. It's about rebuilding it from the ground up, on a foundation of connection instead of performance. Here was the full prescription I gave him. Week 1 and 2, the rediscovery of touch. The only goal for these 2 weeks was to touch each other, without it leading to anything genital. I told them to schedule time for this, as if it were a doctor's appointment. They were to give each other slow, sensual massages, to hold hands while watching a movie, to lie in bed and just feel the warmth of each other's skin, to cuddle, to kiss like they did when they were teenagers. Long, passionate kisses that had no other objective. The goal was to resensitize their bodies to pleasure and touch without the looming pressure of the pass-fail exam. It was about reminding their nervous systems that touch is about connection, not just a prelude to a performance. Week 3, expanding the vocabulary of pleasure. In the 3rd week, they were allowed to introduce genital touch, but the no intercourse rule remained firmly in place. The focus was now on exploring what felt good for both of them. For Robert, this meant learning to be a giver of pleasure, without his erection being the star of the show. We talked about oral sex, about manual stimulation, about using high-quality lubricants to make everything feel better for Susan, whose body had also changed with menopause. The goal was to shift the objective from, "Can I get an erection?" to, "How can we create shared pleasure right now, with the bodies we have today?" This was a revelation for him. It took the spotlight off his failing equipment and put it onto his hands, his mouth, and his attentiveness as a lover. Week 4, invitation, not expectation. In the final week, I told them they could lift the ban on intercourse, but with one critical new rule. Intercourse could only happen if it felt like a natural, spontaneous, and mutual next step. An invitation, not an expectation. If Robert had an erection, great. If he didn't, that was also great, because they had spent the last 3 weeks building a rich, satisfying, and deeply intimate connection that didn't depend on it. The erection was no longer the price of admission to intimacy. It was simply a bonus. Part 3. The breakthrough. From prisoner to partner. Robert and Susan left my office that day, looking skeptical but willing to try. 2 months later, they returned for their follow-up. The change was remarkable. Robert walked in standing taller. He was holding Susan's hand, and they were both smiling. He told me the first week had been awkward. They felt clumsy, like they were following a script. But by the 3rd or 4th night of just holding each other, something broke open. Susan started crying softly. She told Robert she couldn't remember the last time they had just held each other without him feeling stressed. She said she missed him, not his erection, but him. That was the turning point. He told me that during the 3rd week, as he focused solely on Susan's pleasure, he felt a sense of freedom he hadn't experienced in years. He wasn't a performer anymore. He was a partner. He was an explorer. He found immense joy and confidence in his ability to make his wife feel good, regardless of what his own body was doing. And then, he shared the most incredible part. One night during that 4th week, he said, a look of wonder on his face, "We were just laughing and fooling around, and I wasn't thinking about it at all. And then it just happened. A real solid erection. No pill. No anxiety. Because for the first time in a decade, it didn't matter if it happened or not. And of course, that's when it did. They had been intimate, but the experience was different. The intercourse wasn't the frantic, goal-oriented event it used to be. It was a calm, connected part of a much larger, more playful and more loving experience. Robert had found the key. The key wasn't a pill or a procedure. The key was realizing he was never in a prison to begin with. He had simply been staring at the wrong door. Conclusion, your prescription for freedom. Robert's story is not an isolated miracle. It is the predictable outcome of shifting your focus from performance to presence, from intercourse to intimacy. If you are a man over 60 and you're struggling with the reliability of your erections, please hear this. Your worth as a man, as a husband, as a partner, is not measured by the rigidity of your penis. It never has been. That is a cruel and false narrative sold to us for decades. The real measure of intimacy is your ability to make your partner feel seen, desired, and cared for. It's in your hands, your mouth, your words, and your heart. So here is my prescription for you today. Not a pill, but a plan. The Intimacy First Framework. 1. Declare a ceasefire. Take intercourse completely off the table for a set period of time. 2 weeks a month. Announce to your partner that you are firing the tyrant of performance. This single act can release a mountain of pressure overnight. 2. Rediscover touch. Go back to basics. Kiss, cuddle, massage. Explore each other's bodies with a sense of curiosity, not a goal. The only objective is connection. 3. Expand your definition of sex. Sex is a vast and creative landscape. Intercourse is just one landmark in it. Oral sex, manual stimulation, mutual masturbation, the use of high-quality toys. These are all valid, powerful, and deeply connecting forms of sexual expression that can be enjoyed regardless of an erection. 4. Shift the goal. Make the new goal shared pleasure, not male performance. When you make your partner's pleasure your primary focus, your own confidence and satisfaction will grow in ways you can't imagine. This path requires courage. It requires a conversation with your partner. But it is a conversation that can lead you out of a place of silent shame and into a renewed world of connection, pleasure, and profound intimacy. You are not a faulty machine. You are a whole person, and your relationship is far more resilient and beautiful than a simple pass-fail exam. Thank you for trusting me with your time today. If this message resonated with you, please give this video a like so it can find others who need to hear it. And please subscribe for more honest, science-based conversations about aging with vitality and joy. I'm Dr. Chloe Bennett. Be kind to yourselves and to each other.